on June 14th, 2024 and dipped. Poor Rollout. This girl, like, if the gods are telling her maybe it's just time to pack it up.
Snatch off the wig. Oh.
There is no passion, there is no vision.
Hey guys, it's your girl Cameron and I'm back at it again with another video. And today is a good day because I feel like Beyonce in the Crazy in Love video. Peep the top. But we are going to be discussing a bit of a hot topic lately, rollouts. When the rollout isn't rolling out like it used to. Now, with this summer, with the year of 2024, artists are releasing albums like it's no one's business. Everybody and their mom dropped an album this year. And so we've been experiencing the fatiguing effects of rollouts coming and going, like seasons, especially in a year where everybody's dropping music. You know, you anticipate some releases you don't even know about. And as someone who tries to keep up with music, I'm like, I did not even know you dropped. Or you forget about a project as fast as it dropped. And I want to really dissect this phenomenon, right? With an oversaturated market, with so many artists releasing, recouping for their labels, or being pushed or pressured to release, we're starting to see that rollouts are far and few between, and it's not as much of an industry standard anymore. So I really want to go through this journey today because a lot of people have been discussing this. Back when projects used to release, or albums, as we'll say, let Beyonce say it, people don't make albums anymore, but the lead up to a release used to be exciting, full of anticipation. The visual, conceptual reveal, the album's potential sonic theme, the image and stylistic reveal, you're stepping into a whole new era for an artist. But you see a lot of fans constantly commenting now, since when did they drop a project? Well, that came and went. This feels very rushed. So music consumers are expressing a fatigue. And I recently saw a tweet regarding Chloe Bailey's new album, Trouble in Paradise, which has dropped, which we'll talk about her more in depth. But someone said, this be the problem. Where's the rollout? She announced the album release date literally on a Monday, and then it dropped on a Friday. So there's been this consistent pattern of seasoned and new artists alike dropping the music out of nowhere and then dipping. And with a lack of attention to detail, telling a story, maybe even creating a world and upkeeping the imagery throughout the remainder of the era. We're going to talk about artists like Normani, Chloe, Khalid, he recently dropped, Katy Perry, Charli XCX. We're going to look at some great examples of rollouts. We're also going to talk about some recent situations of rollouts that were quite disappointing from people we really anticipated music from. Like, comment down below, and hit that subscribe button, guys. Can we get to 70K? Thank you so much for supporting me and watching my videos and enjoying my content. Check out my Patreon. In the description, I do my own album audit series where I listen to new releases, and once album release season is over, I'm also going to go back and listen to classics. So any recommendations, it's just going to be consistent exclusive content. So check that out. I have a 7-day free trial for my highest tier members. You won't regret it. Thank you so much, and without further ado, let's just get straight into the video. Sorry y'all if my throat is a little raspy. I went out last night and I was yelling. So if my voice is a little, fun fact, as a kid, I had a very raspy voice. It sounded like I smoked like 5 packs a day. It was crazy. I'm gonna push through, but here we go. So let's talk about the function of the rollout historically through music. So it was essentially strategies involved in the buildup or anticipation for an album, pre-album and post-album drop, aiming to maintain hype or maintain attention for that period of time. So people know that you're dropping something, they're anticipating it, and then after the fact, once the project drops, it still has some sort of momentum. So people employ strategies to make sure that the public knows that it's released and that people are listening to the music. Essentially, it's marketing. In past years, you would wait 4 to 5 years for an album, with artists either touring, creating, or beginning the process for the next album. We would definitely have to wait a lot longer previously. But a rollout is really what pushes you to the masses. You have good music, you want people to hear it, roll out. You have bad music and you want people to hear it, roll out. Especially in today's day and age, you would think that rollouts would be more crucial, but we'll talk about how they're really not. And contrary to popular belief, some of you guys might say, some people just want to drop music and leave. It's about the music, not the sales. You're not wrong. But to a consumer like myself, and I know a lot of you guys exist out there who are fascinated by the multitude of aspects within artistic expression. For music, for example, I enjoy rollouts for the artistry. For me, it's not about the sales per se. That is a harsh reality though. It's marketing. Marketing drives sales, so people aren't doing this for no reason. But I think some really cool things can happen from rollouts, right? On an artistry level. For the lore, to dive into an album and transcend into a curated or created world. It can completely elevate an album for you or a listening experience. I feel like I understand and connect to music better when I have context, and I think it also helps an artist convey their artistic evolution. It shapes a new era, transition, and style. So that's one of the reasons why I find them exciting, because when I, do, for instance, my Patreon reviews, I'm looking at the synopsis. I'm looking at interviews. I'm looking at the imagery. I'm looking at everything, and that really helps shape. And for me, read a piece of work properly and fairly. I like to respect people's artistic integrity. So rollouts to me help keep the artistic integrity and add layers, right? It adds more context to a body of work that I think helps people connect, music lovers connect with your music in a deeper way. So that's one of those reasons why I personally like a rollout and why a lot of people miss them. It created an experience, a curated experience for people from the lead up to the album to the end of the album. Everyone can kind of take bits and pieces and overall look at the big painted picture. But let's be clear, we'll get into the business side. But the business is often the culprit of the lack thereof of rollouts, and I think that the artists get stoned for it when there's a lot of business things going on. Even though in the age of the internet, you can do a lot with a little money. I'm just saying, you can. Like Doja Cat blew up off of a song called Moo, filmed on her computer with a green screen. So, I stand somewhere in the middle, but we will talk about it. So what do rollouts consist of? Well, usually you have a strong lead single to start the era off. Usually within a rollout cycle before the album, you'll drop at least about 2 to 3 singles. It depends on your rollout cycle. You'll often have a music video attached to a single. Nowadays, I feel like you only get a music video for maybe 1 single. Having a music video for all 3 or 2, it depends on how big of the artist it is. So there's usually a visual introduction to the style of this era, right? Whether it's starting a story, whether it's setting up aesthetics, but it can really be a good insight or look into the concept or theme of an album. You may also launch pre-order campaigns where you're asking people, hey, pre-save my album, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, wherever they stream it. They're setting up people to have that music already pre-ordered and available when it drops. Labels and, let's say, distribution deals, for example, they'll push singles on playlists. You want to be in front of people prior to an album dropping. So you might push a couple singles. We see this very commonly with Sabrina Carpenter, which we'll talk about today. But a lot of people are like, I don't even listen to Sabrina Carpenter, but her songs are just being pushed on my playlist. And from a rollout and marketing perspective, it's genius for her because people are going to know when she drops, point blank, period. And then also from a PR media marketing side, teams for a rollout might try to push a story in the press for visibility, whether this is a TMZ bite, right, causing a social media frenzy, being posted on blogs. We'll do a media run, so radio interviews, press conferences, podcasts, TV interviews, all of the above. So all of this together, especially in the social media era, can be important. Not only just care about your music, but to remember that you exist. We're at that. We're beyond the point of just the music. Let's be real here. But actually, there's an article by Todd McCarty. And for the past 2 decades, he's a music industry leader and was an SVP sales at Sony Music. Check his article out because he actually does a very in-depth view of rollouts and some tips like do's and don'ts for people who are artists. So I'll link that down below. But I will say what did kind of change the trajectory, I would say, in the newer age. So we're talking 2010s plus, right? I still feel like prior to that point, there was still more of a traditional rollout model, but it was kind of slowly fading. When Beyonce dropped her self-titled album in 2013, I think that really changed the potential for surprise drops, right? It shifted the axis. I think that left an echo and reverberation within the music industry because maybe labels were now convinced that they could do less and still see a significant return. But again, the mistake with this and following the trend of what a major artist like Beyonce does is not going to be the answer for the general scope of artists, because Beyonce is a one of one kind of artist. So everyone can't get that off. However, from what I understand, as well as kind of gathering what a lot of people have said, people are kind of pinpointing that as being a shift in rollouts and what labels were willing to fund and what not to fund. And you kind of started to see a trend of a downward trajectory just for the everyday average artist of like rolling out their projects. So let's talk about when rollouts go wrong. So the trend of today's industry does not encourage space for rollout. A world where the internet moves on so fast, it's this rapid news cycle. It's the drop and go model. Let's be real here. And we're a part of the problem. It's hard to keep attention for too long. So why drag a rollout for 3 to 4 months when it's like no one's going to care about it anyways? And I think this leads to lazy or sloppier rollouts, quicker rollouts, from labels hardly funding the music, let alone visuals for marketing for a rollout. And then there's also an argument that rollouts are not vital if your label's not going to push you in playlisting, right? If they're not going to push the distribution of your music. So often artists have to sacrifice certain things to get that end product out. And I don't know, perhaps some of them are dropping albums profusely to try to get out of their terrible record deals. I don't know if that's a conspiracy, but we've seen it historically where people would be in a 6-album deal and they're like, here, damn, just take it. I want to get out of this deal. So they just drop and go. And now I would say the main portion of a rollout is really just teasing snippets of pieces of music to your TikTok audience or putting it on Instagram, right? Doing an Instagram live, testing the waters.
Now rollout is what? Clearing your Instagram, your bio becomes a cryptic lyric, and then a story that says new music at midnight? Put me in a story, put me in a theme, create some kind of world.
So that's often how far it goes that I see. It can be very effective, don't get me wrong, create an organic buzz, but a lot of people, that's the furthest they're going. And an article from TK Spiff says, quote, from an artist's perspective, they now need to cram 3 to 6 months of marketing and exposure into a couple of weeks or sometimes a short few days. Due to that attention span, guys, a lot of artists are just couple weeks. This is the album cover. This is the title. This is what it's going to be. We're going to announce the album dropping on a Monday and we're going to drop it on a Friday. So it's like being crammed, right? And we're just seeing that more and more. So let's talk about some album rollouts that are perceived to be kind of poor, to have some missteps. We're going to talk about a couple of names here. I'm going to start with Ice Spice. Now, one thing I'm going to give Ice Spice's team credit for is they have an ability to keep her visible. They are great at making her the talk of the town, which is a piece of the rollout key, right? You got to create some sort of buzz, drama, etc. But the way that it was executed, I think, kind of led to her downfall. I mean, besides the terrible music, that album was terrible. I did a album audit for it, so you're welcome. But there were a couple little missteps within the rollout process that made people kind of have a bad taste in their mouth. Over the album cover controversy, they put the Y2K on the trash can, which to me was like a terrible idea because that was like low-hanging fruit. Of course, people are going to say your album is trash if you put it on the trash can. And then actually a fan had been like, here you go, I fixed it for you. And she clapped back at the fan. And it wasn't even like, it was not necessary. So that left a bad taste in people's mouth. Starting with the rollout. The album cover, releasing the album cover is a huge part of the rollout and creating allure, creating something that fans can start to hold on to, something tangible. Also, people were saying like, what was really Y2K about this? And although allegedly the album was titled Y2K because Ice Spice was literally born on January 1st, 2000, it just didn't read. So besides that, when most people think of Y2K, we think of the aesthetic. So when you kind of veer off of that and like the whole album, the world, the creation, the cover art, the images that you post don't match that, to the average viewer and then you're not offering a lot of context for it, it kind of creates for a shitstorm around your rollout. And for the TMZ bit, you know how I said you have to get some sort of publicity or you have to be talked about? We know that she was doing a PR publicity stunt with Central C that kind of turned out to be a mess and put a bad taste in people's mouth. People were talking about it, but she also got bad publicity that she didn't necessarily ask for with a fan base that has been supporting and lifting up her career, right? One of her friends, Baby Storm, released text messages of her talking about the queen. That kind of single-handedly put a dent in some of the fan base that would have supported her otherwise. And then people were also clowning the signed digital album, which apparently that's a thing. A signed digital album? Are y'all paying for that? For a debut, I think people expected her rollout to be more cohesive, make more sense, and it ended up kind of just being a bit of a mess. It was just messy. Now, we're going to talk about Chloe Bailey. I know some of y'all are going to cuss me out. Trust me. I'm not personally saying anything bad. I am reflecting the conversation of what I have seen. And as someone who's listened to Chloe Bailey's first album, you know, I of course am going to be tuned in to her second album, Trouble in Paradise. Now, I remember scrolling through my Instagram and it was like, Chloe Bailey's dropping an album on August 9th or something. And it's like, I knew there was a couple releases that have been being teased. Like Lotto's album had been being teased for that date. And then like I wake up on a Monday and I'm like, what? Like, oh, I gotta react to this too. I had no idea she was dropping. And I am someone who follows her. I don't like avidly watch every move that she does, but like I've heard her singles. So she dropped FYS on March 1st. So I guess that was the start of the era. And then Boy Bye on April 12th. Honestly, I think FYS is one of her best songs. I kind of wished it was pushed more. Maybe a lot of us missed it. Clearly we did. But I did not know that she was dropping a whole album. I didn't know that. I don't know if she's shadow banned on Instagram for me. I follow her. I did not know it. I guess she announced the album at Coachella. I didn't watch that set. Child, I don't know. But I guess the point is that she did say something. But often the rollout functioned more visibly, right? Like you can say things to your core group and maybe that's her goal. She's just trying to target the people who listen to her. But usually rollouts, you kind of want it to expand past that to drive sales and to also get your music in the hands of people who might actually value it, who maybe just don't know about you yet. So at this rate, if you're a core fan, you know, right? It's the principle of if you know, you know. That's always the goal for an artist, right? A core group of people who are always going to listen. But a lot of people in the comments legit did not know. And as much as you guys are going to sit here and comment and say, well, that's your fault then. Da-da-da, like she had been teasing it. You guys are probably very, very, very tapped in with her. But if majority of comments are saying, damn, I did not know that she dropped or she was getting ready to drop, you guys cannot argue with people about that. People are just stating a fact. Like if they didn't know, they didn't know. Right? And overwhelmingly, I was seeing this comment. A lot of people were like, what the hell is happening with rollouts? Parkwood, what's going on? Like, this girl's immensely talented. Like, this should be on billboards. This should be, you guys should be pushing ads on Instagram or pushing ads on Twitter. Like, it should be a little more visible. And so that became a conversation of, dang, like, how am I supposed to even know it's out if I'm finding out that it's out after the project dropped? But I also think it's because her last album came out in 2023. That's a very short gap for a second album. So again, people are also starting to release back to back to back. And I feel like that's why it's even more important to distinguish eras. Make sure there's a rollout. Make sure people know. Because I feel like people miss out on really, really good music. And before y'all say anything, I streamed the last album. So don't even do that whole excuse, well, you weren't going to stream it anyways. I was, and I am. I'm not one of those. So don't even try it. Don't do that. Then we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Normani. Hey, child. I really want to refrain from continuously talking about her because I've made videos about it. She already probably feels bad enough about it. But she released her anticipated album after fans have waited for 6 years. Dopamine. Did a reaction to it, reviewed the album, and a lot of people were very excited. It seemed somewhat promising once we got the release date. We got a teaser video. She dropped the album on June 14th, 2024, and dipped. dipped. No live performances, a few little interviews here or there. And yeah, we've waited for 6 years for an album, and it just the album rollout and the post album, nothing. No peep. No peep. And it sucks. Like, we haven't even gotten a music video, guys. Like, and I heard that the Candy Paint video was filmed. So I don't know what's going on. And I know Normani had actually said in an interview that the rollout has not went the way that she wanted it to.
Would you say for your debut album that that the promotional pieces, that everything came together exactly how you wanted?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
What would you have done differently?
It's hard to answer that question only because I feel like there's been so much prior to even the rollout that has kind of affected the outcome and like the result of. I think that we were doing the best that we could with the cards that we were dealt. In terms of the business, on my behalf, things could have just been handled more responsibly.
Now, one thing that she did do when the album dropped that I thought was promising was she did an album release party. It was like in a little parking garage. Well, there were dopamine themed cocktails, custom made airbrush shirts, tattoo booths for temporary and permanent tattoos, a cute dopamine picture booth. Like, that's the type of stuff that I was like, yes, they're doing it. Because she has so many fans who are invested and are excited, but the momentum is lost. And it just sucks because everyone kind of thought it would be different. And I know she was supposed to do a BET performance, I think for the Usher tribute, and she got injured. Again, there's certain things out of your control, but then there's another flip side of the argument where people are saying, like, I get RCA likes to butcher people's careers, but they're saying, Normani girl, like, you could go on Instagram Live. You could do a cute little live set. You could do something, right, to aid in the rollout and getting the music out there. And some people kind of just feel like she just doesn't care. So I'm not Normani. I am not saying that she does or doesn't. But the point is, she said out of her own mouth that the rollout has just not gone the way that she wanted it to. And she's one of those full package artists who has a vision and wants to execute it. And it just sucks that it's just not panning out the way she wanted to. I also think she's so talented, but without a rollout and like a good strategy to let people know that you dropped a project and to remind people, it's going to fall on deaf ears. It's just not going to be heard. I mean, you guys complain about,
why are the sales so low? Why she's so talented?
But then you guys also complain when people are asking, like, what happened to the rollout? The rollout is what helps sell the music, guys. So if you're rooting for an artist, it kind of naturally makes sense to be like, hey girl, like, you got a video out, you gonna do a performance or something? I'm not trying to be annoying, but like, people are going to forget about you. No one's going to hear your music. You see what I'm saying? Like, it just kind of sucks. Now let's talk about Khalid, okay? Khalid, love him. But we cannot leave him out of this conversation. His third studio album, Sincere, released recently. And I found out that it released like a week after it released. And the way that I found out that it released was a Twitter post. Just popped up on my feed. I don't follow him. And it was like, Khalid got this much for first week sales or something. And I'm like, wait, when did he drop an album? I've listened to both of his projects. I'm sure my Khalid review is somewhere buried at the bottom of my YouTube page, okay? But I've been a fan. So I remember seeing the announcement and being kind of confused. Like, damn, I had no idea he dropped a project. And I guess his rollout technically started within the spring to about summer, which is like a fair, decent time frame. He had a single, Please Don't Fall in Love with Me, good song, Adore You, and he also dropped a song called Ground, which I didn't even know he dropped Adore You, and I didn't even know he dropped Ground. But Khalid is a 26-year-old diamond-selling artist who garnered huge buzz very early into his career, super big. I feel like he's that artist that labels should be pushing. He has a unique vocal tone, good music, he's talented, he's young. And then there's also not a lot of guys in the music industry from a pop perspective, from an R&B perspective, on a mainstream level being pushed. Like, you wonder, why did no one know from a general perspective that he was dropping an entire album? And don't do that, because when I went in the comments, it was just plagued with comments of, had no idea he dropped. Where was the promotion? I didn't even know he dropped. He barely promoted this album, but it was a great one nonetheless. Someone said, I didn't even know he had an album out. And then another person said, RCA dead ass wrong because nobody promoted this album. The comments were plagued with this, guys. From people who are fans who like his music. So we have folks a week after the release not even knowing that he had an album coming out. And of course, RCA is always at the crime scene, which is why I tell you guys that a lot of this, you guys like bully the artists for it. A lot of it has to do with like the funding they're even being given in the first place. They can only do so much. These artists don't want to have to pull from their own pocket. Don't be nasty to the artists, please. I beg. Go listen to the music. But we need to know that the music dropped to support. As I was doing research for this video, why did I not know Tinashe dropped? My point just keeps getting proven. I know she's independent though, so it's different, but what the heck? Like, damn. For one of the last that we're going to talk about for this section of the video, for some of the most poor rollouts, Katy Perry. Y'all, I did a video talking about her, so check it out. I'm not going to get into depth, but we already know that Woman's World was a disaster, from the production, Dr. Luke being involved with it, to the video. It was just a hot mess, okay? And she released her second single, Lifetimes. And you guys want to know the tea? Spanish authorities are investigating the music video production. Poor Rollout. This girl, like, if the gods are telling her maybe it's just timed. Pack it up. Just pack it up. Is that the suitcase? Just pack it. Because a representative for the Natural Environment Department of the Balearic Islands said that her production did not get proper authorization to film the video in Ses Salines Natural Park. Guys, they said that they damaged the environment and that they are investigating. I guess they were given the verbal go-ahead to go ahead and film it, but they found out later that there was still one permit that was being processed. Hot ass mess. So this is why I'm saying, like, rollouts can make or break. But you have to be thoughtful, because in Katy Perry's case, I don't know what's going on, but they're not thinking. I feel like at this point, the only thing she kind of has going for her is she's going to be doing her Vanguard performance, and she's going to get the MTV Video Vanguard Award. So maybe that will help kind of shift the perception and kind of make people remember why they loved Katy in the first place. I was just dead when she was signing the Women's World posters or whatever, or her album posters, and she had her daughter signing them. And her daughter was scribbling all over the faces. That was so funny. I was like, I don't know if I would want that. I would be like,
That's okay. You can keep it.
I don't know if I'd want that, but you know what? Nor here nor there. There's been a multitude of artists where the norm has been to kind of drop and go. And then to be positive and to show some good things that I see happening, let's talk about some recent examples of promising rollouts from the pre to the post. I was going to say Ariana Grande, kind of. Not from a perspective where she's super visible, but what I do like is that she hasn't quit on the album. A lot of people will drop their album. They won't, do another single 6 months later. They won't do another music video. Doing Yes and before the album, to dropping We Can't Be Friends the week of the album, and then dropping the Boy's Mind video months and months later, and then doing a remix. I like how they've been pacing it. A lot of people drop an album and let it go. Something nice, like you're feeding the fans. Like, you're not just leaving us hanging. You're not just quitting on the project. You're giving us something. Victoria Monet, honestly, if you want to do a case study on how to do a great rollout, from the aesthetic to the timing to picking singles, perfect example. I personally love the fact that she delivered an alright music video a year after the project had dropped. A lot of people aren't brave enough to do that, and aren't brave enough to continue to work a project or a single, but it became another moment. More virality, people are going back and listening to her album, continuing to discover her music. I think she does an excellent job at this, from Jaguar to Jaguar 2 to not giving up on a project. We know she's a go-getter and she don't quit. And then let's talk about it, Sabrina Carpenter. Her album Short and Sweet will be releasing soon. It'll be out by the time this video posts. But Sabrina Carpenter right now is being seen everywhere. Everywhere. Someone said they got her working. She's over here. She's in this country. She's doing this random appearance. Her team is working her to the point where, people who don't listen to pop music know that Sabrina Carpenter is dropping. Espresso hit the streets like crack in the 80s. Strategically dropping this summer feel-good song for Coachella weekend. The Espresso connection. If you saw the Espresso music video and the way that it connects to the Please 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 video, there's this thread of connection. She's creating this world. It's keeping people invested. She's had a short and sweet smoothie. It was $23, child. I'm not buying that. That's absolutely freaking ridiculous, but great marketing. Billboards. Cute promo videos. Talking about some claim your track and tell your friends, right? So now you're encouraging people to spread the word. Little debit cards, Cash App debit cards, fashion campaigns, SNL, Skims campaign, Taylor Swift opener. The hustle is real, but I do think her team is also funding and spending the big bucks as well. They're clearly trying to push her as like the next big thing. They are. So they're putting money into it, but this has been refreshing to see her creating this entire like buzz and world around her album that I've been enjoying. And then we cannot forget to mention Charli XCX when we talk about positive examples of album rollouts that we've seen in the recent years. So her album Brat released June 7th, 2024, and she really paid close attention to articulating the personal nature of the album, creating a bridge of relatability to consumers. She created the saying Brat Summer, right? Party animal antics, cool girl style, and lime green everything. Down to the saying, down to the imagery we were getting. We are creating a world. People who don't even listen to Charli XCX, we're talking about Brat Summer, right? It even infiltrated the political airways. But she's taken a lot of time to really explain and carve out this concept and be very intentional and clear about it. So people are connecting from the lime green and signature Arial font, pulling on nostalgia strings. In internet culture, we've gotten merch marketing. She did the Boiler Room set. She's had her own parties. This album has exceeded her niche fan base. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, of course the fans are gonna know. When a rollout can help expand and push your music past just your niche base, that's huge. That's very huge in pushing an artist forward. So we're at the point where like they're talking about Brat Summer on CNN. That was a really, really great example. I thoroughly enjoyed that album. I really, really enjoyed Brat. And then just a cute little note. For some of the rap girls, I know Lotto has had a very great rollout, from the ATL video snippet to multiple promo videos to parties at Magic City to parties at Cascade, phone call revealing the features. She's done a really good job with her rollout and curating that rollout within a shortish amount of time. And also Megan Thee Stallion, I felt like had a very good rollout. It was slow, it was steady, but it packed a punch when her album did release. I would say it was about a 6-month rollout. I feel like these are a couple great examples that people can pull from. And when we look back historically, there's quite a few albums that people find as textbook example of pretty good, well thought out, great rollouts in a modern day sense. From Lemonade to After Hours by The Weeknd, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy Kanye West, 30 by Adele, Teenage Dream by Katy Perry. Please comment down below some more that you guys have that, you know, people can look at as inspiration. So in conclusion, right, a lack of a rollout is an indication of a potential lack in creativity. It could be, you know, some artists being like, I don't give a damn. But I mainly think that it's a budgeting decision. Still sucks though. And I saw someone say in regards to the rollout conversation, where are the real music fans? Everyone's so worried about the business of music. Fair, but let's face it, a lot of what made us fall in love with artists and appreciate someone's overall artistry just beyond the music was the entire package. And a part of that was the attention to detail and the rollout, the gimmicks, the imagery, the videos, all of the above is what created an anticipation and excitement around listening to music. And there's a business aspect and marketing aspect, right, of music, and it can make a huge difference in exposure in any industry. For artists that I love, I want them to do good. I want them to be successful. I want their music to get out there. I want people to experience the joy that I get from listening to their music. So of course, consumers are going to desire a certain product or would like to have an excitement of certain things or the anticipation of a rollout. So for those of you guys getting buck because fans and listeners miss rollouts, because that aided in the overall musical experience and artistry, chill out. Don't be too hostile. Some of y'all are the same people who harbor on first week sales. Like, damn, why aren't they selling like they used to? Her music's so good. Why is no one listening? Rollouts, marketing, that's the whole point. Increasing your favorite artist's reach, making them more successful, and hopefully their great music can fall on new ears. So What do you guys think of rollouts in today's society in the music industry today? I feel like I've noticed it so much more now because so many people have released albums. It's crazy. Like, I can't even keep up this year. But I really want to have a fun, genuine, open conversation about it. So let's chat. Hit that subscribe button down below. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.